Hey guys, welcome back to Words of War. My name is Jorge Guerra, and this is the spoiler review of Avengers 2 Age of Ultron. So, Avengers 2 Age of Ultron, quick synopsis since we probably already did it, is Tony Stark pretty much creates Ultron, and then now the Avengers have to fight it. So, starting off from the gates, this movie starts off with like a bang. Like it starts off with the Avengers kind of destroying this Hydra base, so you really see them like being the Avengers and working together, and you get that sense that you got at the end of Avengers, where like you see them all like kind of like really working together and being that Avengers team that you remember from the comic books, which is super cool. And so you get them winning a lot, which is super cool. And they kind of introduce the twins, which is Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver. So that was really cool seeing them there, and you kind of get a taste of the future where Quicksilver comes out and like kind of rushes and really interrupts their flow, or the Avengers kind of flow, to where they kind of have to pull back a little bit, And so you see that, you see Scarlet Witch kind of mess with people's minds, and it kind of starts the snowball effect with Tony Stark, because she messes with his mind a bit and lets him see like all the Avengers dead and that he didn't do enough to protect the world. And so it starts this kind of snowball effect in Tony's mind that he needs to do more to protect the planet. And so what the Avengers were there to get was Loki's scepter, which was Thor wants to take it back to Asgard, so there won't be any remnants of that here on Earth. So that's our snowball effect. He tries to create this artificial intelligence. It turns into Ultron, and of course Ultron automatically goes, you know what, best way for there to be no more wars and for there to be peace on Earth is for there to not be humans. And so of course that doesn't sit well with the Avengers, so that's pretty cool. I'm pretty sure everybody saw the trailer where everybody's trying to pick up Thor's hammer and stuff like that, so that scene was pretty cool. That's where they introduced Ultron, and that plays a part later on. But yeah, I mean, there was a lot of really cool sprinkled parts within this movie. They had, it was really cool because after that, during that scene, there's this big party. Of course, there's a Stan Lee cameo that comes out in it. But there's a lot of people that came out from the movies, from the previous movies, that came out in in this film, like little cameos and stuff like that. So that was really cool to see them at that party and seeing like War Machine there. You get a glimpse of Peggy Carter later on. So there's a lot of really cool stuff sprinkled throughout. Another thing that I really liked, of course, everybody wanted to see the Hulk versus the Hulkbuster armor, so that was really cool. You get to see that fight and see how it plays out, and there's a lot of really funny comments within that. That's another thing that I kind of liked about this movie, is that the comedy sprinkled throughout this time around feels more that it's more character based, like more based on the way, let's say, Tony would react to the Hulk. Like there's this part where they're like beating each other up, and basically Iron Man punches the Hulk so hard that the Hulk actually spits a tooth out, and as soon as he sees it spit it out, like Tony's like, I'm sorry. And so it's really cool to see those kind of things, because you already know these characters, so it feels, you get that familiarity with them, and so those jokes like kind of hit a different spot than they normally would, because you already know these guys. So so that was really cool. There was a love story kind of thing with Romanov, which is Black Widow, and the Hulk, and so you get that kind of going as well. And I mean, the Hulk is like this nice guy. You kind of want to see him, especially after the first movie. I think everybody kind of, another reason why everybody loved the Hulk, they kind of related to that kind of like, trying to fight that inner war, and so you kind of want to see him get a win, so they build on that a little bit. So eventually what happens is that the Avengers end up fighting the twins, and the twins just kind of rip them a new a-hole. And it's really cool because you see that beginning where the Avengers are like super winning and they're like super awesome team, and then you see them lose this fight when Ultron tries to go get vibranium, which is what Captain America's shield is made of. So you see them lose this fight, and you really see them like at a low, which is, you really see them all kind of like, you imagine them as this team, like unbeatable Avengers, and you kind of see them all just kind of like super down, because like Scarlet Witch shows them all pretty much like their biggest fear, their biggest failure, kind of sort of. Captain America sees Peggy and that dance that he never had with her. Scarlet Witch kind of sees the fact that where she was raised, like she can't have children. That's something she wants because that's like the graduation thing for like being a girl super spy, apparently, where she was raised in that. And then you know, Thor, that he's like failing as a ruler. And so yeah, so everybody kind of has their own little backstory, which was another cool thing. There was still a lot of character development in this without it feeling like they were shoving down just like basics character stuff at you. Like it really was just like a deeper look into what makes these characters, why these heroes are heroes, you know. And I think that was the main theme throughout this whole thing was, you know, like that being a hero isn't just having superpowers and being the Hulk or being this or being whatever. It's really about the choices that you make, and it shows how like that can take a toll, and how heavy of a burden kind of that it is to carry, you know. And that's really reflected really well. Right after they lose that fight, they go to like Hawkeye's house, which he actually has like a wife and kids and stuff like that. And that was super cool because it shows you like that the most human of the Avengers like has this whole other life, and you never see, you know, him bring that up, or like, you know, and it's super cool because it really grounds Hawkeye. Like I think that's one of the things that, you know, like he seemed like just as much of a like straight guy or like killer as like Romanov, and then you see like he's this totally different guy, and it just, you know, it goes to show that, you know, he's carrying all this weight and around with him, and everybody is too, but everybody has kind of their own demons. So it was just a really cool scene because it kind of showed everybody at their most vulnerable. And of course, Nick Fury comes back and you know, lets everybody know kind of what's going on, since they took this loss from Ultron. And so it ends up being that Ultron's trying to create or evolve into this new kind of being, which they have this kind of like new kind of skin that he's gonna make with vibranium, so he'd be like super indestructible pretty much. And in Thor's vision, he sees that the power within Loki's scepter is actually the soul gem from the Infinity Stone. So if you're following that arc, there's another gem, which is super cool, because that ends up in that body, which hint it ends up being Vision. So I mean, the Avengers finally get back together to try to go basically stop Ultron from evolving, which he was going to transfer his consciousness into this new body. And so they stop it. They get the little casket that has that body in it, and then they use the gem to bring it to life. Thor helps them, and he becomes the Vision. Paul Bettany was awesome as the Vision. So it was super cool because if you've ever seen, like, I saw the Vision back in the day, like when he had just become the Vision, and it was super cool just because like there was this kind of deadness to him in the comics that I think they did really good with Bettany, because it was like, it's not that he didn't have any facial expression, but just the way that the makeup and his features to begin with, and then the tone of voice, and just so used to hearing the Jarvis voice, it was still kind of that voice, whatever. But yeah, it was really cool. And then they did this really cool thing where, you know, they're talking about, well, you know, you're another artificial intelligence. Can we trust you? Because the same thing happened with Ultron, and you're an Infinity Gem pretty much, because that's what's powering Vision, or that's what brought him to life, is that Infinity Gem, the Soul Gem. And so, you know, there's this big kind of discord of like, I don't know if we should trust you and go further with this plan, because they're coming up with a plan to pretty much beat Ultron. And then out of nowhere, because of the fact that Thor had laid his hammer down, you know, he's like, I don't know. He's like, if you want to trust me, you can trust me. If you don't, you don't. But we got to go. And he picks up the hammer and gives it to Thor. And it was a super cool scene because, like, it just makes everybody goes like, you know, there was this big old talk when people, if you saw that scene, people weren't worthy to actually pick up Thor's hammer because, like, you know, they just weren't worthy, and it's something that somebody has to be worthy to pick it up. So you see Vision just pick it up like nothing. and you're like, oh well, yeah, then he's a hero, you know. And so it's like it kind of leaves everybody dumbfounded, you know. And they make jokes about it later on, how like, oh well, he's a machine, that's why he picked it up or whatever. But so that was really cool, and it was really cool to see, and it was a really cool, easy, fast way to like kind of establish the Vision's a hero and leave it at that. So that was cool. You know, and so towards the end of the movie, you know, they go stop Ultron, and while Ultron's trying to upload his consciousness into this body, Scarlet Witch kind of saw his plans for the Earth, which is pretty much to kill everybody. So basically, Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver end up, you know, deciding to help the Avengers save kind of the world, because it's partly their fault that they let this guy into power, you know? And so, you know, all in all, it leads to this big old fight, which is what everybody's expecting. But, you know, like, the coolest thing about the whole last scenes, which was them pretty much defending this capsule, basically Ultron's plan is to create a meteor out of pretty much a part of a country that he, like, brought up into the sky and just kill all of humanity. But the coolest part of all those scenes, because there was a lot of CGI, there was a lot of fighting, which is super cool. A lot of the Quicksilver fast stuff, Scarlet Witch's powers were like totally on point. And there was like this moment between Scarlet Witch and Hawkeye where he was like, you know, I have a bow and arrow and I'm still out there fighting. I don't have powers, I don't have anything, but I do it because that's my job, you know, and this is what we do. He's like, so when you cross that door, if you want to stay here, stay here. Like, just stay here. I'm not going to babysit you. But you're going to go out that door, you're going to be an Avenger, and you're going to do your job. You're going to do your thing, you know? And so it was really cool scene, because again it kind of hits that point of like, you know, why are these guys heroes? Are they heroes because they have powers, or are they heroes because they choose to do what needs to be done, you know? And so that was really cool. I really enjoyed that little part. And then, you know, Scarlet Witch comes out and totally kicks ass. Scarlet Witch right now is totally bae. But yeah, so it was super cool. And then super big spoiler, but I mean, this is a spoiler review, right? What can you expect? So Quicksilver ends up dying, kind of, sort of, because he saves Hawkeye, and they had this whole little thing with Hawkeye and him kind of bantering back and forth. So you kind of, you know, Hawkeye kind of like feels bad that this kid like kind of saved him, pretty much gave up his life. But so I don't think he's dead. I don't think so, because they kind of talked about how he had a fast like healing system or whatever too. So I think he's gonna heal and he's not really gonna die. And but you know, they want to keep that kind of effect up. So yeah. So anyway, so they basically fight Ultron. Everyone fights Ultron. Ultron brings thousands of his other bodies, so they can't leave any of the bodies alive either, because then that would leave Ultron alive. And yeah, so like there's this huge big fight. In the long run, the island still floats. They stop everything, which is cool. And you get that win. But again, the coolest thing about that whole last fight is that you see these guys being heroes because they're choosing to be heroes. They're saving people. They're, you know, it's not just about being flashy or just, you know, just defeating the bad guy. It's about trying to save everybody and like and risking their own lives to save those people. Like Quicksilver, he did that. Like Hawkeye would have died if Quicksilver hadn't saved Hawkeye, you know. And so it's like they have each other's back. They're a team. You see that, and you see why they need each other and why they have their backs and stuff like that. So it was super cool. It was super cool to see that. And then the ending, you see kind of like you see Tony Stark kind of step away. You see Thor kind of step away, you know. And then of course people that come in are War Machine, Scarlet Witch, Quicksilver. So you see kind of a new team form up at the very end of the movie, which is cool. And they totally tease you at the very end because Captain America is all like, Avengers, and they cut off there. And so it's like, you're like, oh no, Avengers Assemble, just say Avengers Assemble. But yeah, so there was a lot of really cool parts to this movie. There was a romance between Scarlet Witch and the Hulk, which kind of at the end, the Hulk kind of leaves by himself. So you get a sense that that's not going anywhere, but it also opens up that, you know, that Hulk movie in the future. So that's kind of cool. But yeah, there was a lot of really cool parts to this movie. I kind of want them all to just come out now because I want to know what happens next. But yeah, so it was definitely a lot of fun to watch. If you watched it, which is probably why you're watching this spoiler review, let me know what you thought about it. I mean, what did you think about it? What did you think of The overall story arc, I thought it was really cool. Did you think everybody got their own, like, enough screen time? Did you feel somebody got left out? I thought maybe Quicksilver could have had a little bit more screen time. But yeah, I mean, all in all, I mean, I thought it was a good movie. I gave it a 9.5. Comparing it to the first movie, I think they're two totally different films, so it's kind of hard to compare them, because the first one really had that little kid feel of like a hero and what a hero should be, and this one's a little bit deeper as to, like, you know, the repercussions that come along with being a superhero, and how that affects you. Like, it felt a lot like it felt a lot like the tone that Iron Man 3, Thor Dark World, and Winter Soldier had. So I mean, I think Marvel was going in that direction with. So it's really cool. Josh Whedon, of course, or Joss Whedon did a really good job on this. I mean, guiding that through. So I mean, again, let me know what you thought. Let me know what you're looking forward to in the next movies that are coming up. The Infinity Gauntlet. There's a spoiler, or not a spoiler. There's a mid-credit scene with Thanos and the Infinity Gauntlet. You know, sandstones, because he doesn't have them yet. So that was kind of cool too. But let me know what you thought. Let me know your thoughts on how the Marvel Universe is going. If you're looking forward to the Infinity War or Civil War, which is coming up even sooner than that. What side are you on, right? But again, my name is Jorge Guerra. Y'all have a great one. Thanks again for watching. And as always, please like and subscribe. We really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Y'all have a good one. Bye.